Welcome back, guys. In this video, I'll be teaching you about data types and how to declare a variable, how to use that variable, and how to use that variable with a printf statement. So, first of all, there's three main types that I'll be covering up because I'm going according to a course material. So, int, float, and char. These are the three types that I'll be covering up. Int is equal to integer, float is equal to a decimal number, and char is equal to a character. So int, which is an integer, that equals to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 and so on, whole numbers basically. Decimal numbers, which is 3.2, 4.5, 5.5 and so on. And then we have char, which is character, which can be anything like A, B, V, C, A, capital B, capital C, and so on. So this is just the basics. An int stores an integer value, a float stores a decimal value, a char stores a character value. Now, before you can store anything, you need to make a variable. That means you need to declare a variable, and then you can set it to a value and store something in it. So first, let's get into declaring a variable. So let's say we want to store something. Let's call it int, and let's call it number, and it has to be the type of integer so that we can store 7 in it. So let's do int number, and now it's declared. So now you can use number, and you can equal it to 7, and then in number it's going to store the value of 7. So whenever you call it back, you're going to get a number which is going to equal to 7. So you do number, and you do equals 7, and you close it. And now you've declared integer type variable called number, and in that number you've saved 7. So similarly, you can do the same with float. So you do float, and let's just write down number. And I'm doing this on purpose because I want to show you guys something. We can get rid of this statement right here. And so now we have int number and float number. Now let's run the program, okay? So we run the program, and it says there were build errors. So no, we don't want to run the last one. I'll just show you. If you come down here, you can kind of see that the problem is C declaration of number. So the only reason I did that is because I wanted to show you guys that you cannot use the same variable name even though the variable types are different. So even though this is int number and this is float number, you can't name them the same. The reason behind that is because when you call in number later in your program, it's going to screw it up because it's not going to know if you're calling the int number or you're calling the float number. So that's why you got to change it around, okay? So we say int number, and we can say float number 2. And now we can store in 2 different values in these numbers. So in number, we said we wanted 7, so we can put in a 7 in there. We just have to equal it. And the same way for the float number 2, we just write down number 2, and we can equal it to 4.2. So far we know that number equals to 7 and number 2 equals to 4.2. Now the third data type, which is character. So we say char, and it's just a letter. So we'll just say letter, and that's how we declare char. So int number is the first one, float number 2 is the second one, and char letter is the third one. So we want to equal something. We want letter to store something in it. Let's say we just want to store a capital A in it. So letter A, like that. This is where it gets kind of tricky because letter A will not store the same. It's not going to store A in it. It's gonna actually, when you say letter equals A, it's gonna start looking for some sort of a variable. And so if I put my cursor on top, you can kind of look at it. Error. Identifier A is undefined. That means it can't find anything with A in it because it's thinking that it's a variable, but in reality it's not really a variable. So we want to tell it to not store a value in it. We want it to store capital A in it. So we come over here and we just put it in single quotations. So as you put it in single quotations, the error goes away. So now it's storing the letter A inside of it. So we come down over here, and we know that int equals to number, float equals to number 2, char equals to letter, and then char letter, and then number, the int number has stored 7 in it, number 2, which is float, has 4.2 in it, and letter, which is character type, has the capital A in it. Now we want to print these out on the screen just to make sure that the values that we've stored are in fact what's stored. So we do printf, quotations inside. So the basic format like I taught before. Now we say, let's say we want to put out the number first. So we say the integer number is, and then you want to put out this variable value at type. So you want to put in number or 7 at type. So the way to do that is to write down %d. %d means I've not put anything in here, but after I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to name a variable, and that's the variable that it should call when it gets to %d. So number right here. So what's going to happen is the integer number is %d, and the program is going to read it. Okay, I have to print the integer number is, so it's going to print that out there. Then it's going to come to %d, and it's going to say, oh, so I should be specified something over here. So it's going to jump over here, and it's going to look at this number, and it's going to go, okay, so that's the variable name. Then it's going to come up all the way over here, and it's going to say, okay, it's been declared as an integer type. And then it's going to come down here, it's going to say, okay, number is equal to 7. And then it's going to print, it's going to go back over here, equal this to 7, and then %d equals to number, and then it's going to put a 7 in there. So that's how the program works. Similarly, okay, and after this you want to end the line so that we can have the next one on the next line. And then we come down here, and now we want to printf our float variable. So we say the float number is, now for float you don't do %d. For float you do %f, and that's because it's just different for every one of them, just so that we can always make sure that it's easier and the program doesn't get mixed up. So the float number is %f, and we want to end the line, and then we're going to specify our variable after the comma, and the variable for that is number 2. So again, the program is going to come over here, then it's going to jump to over here, jump to the declaration, and then okay, 4.2, then come down here and then go back in here. After that, we want to put in another printf statement because we now want to print our character. So we do printf, the character value is, and similarly, like it's different for int, like it's different for float, it's different for character. So for character, it's %c, and then \n because we want to end lines. We shut it off, and then after the comma we name our variable. So in our case the variable name is letter. We do that, do this, close the thing up, and that's pretty much it. So we want to pause this screen on the when it pops up, so we just do system pause. I've taught why you put that there, and then we have to put in our return 0 because we put that up there. And that's pretty much it. That's the code. So first we declare them, then we assign a value to them, and then we printed them out on the screen. Let's see how it turns out. So we start the program, and there it is. The integer number is 7, the float number is 4.20000, and the character value is A. Now let's just fool around with it a bit and see how it changes up. So we put in an 8 over there. We put in 5.2242, and from A we change it to Y. Okay, so now we've changed the value for number. Now number should print out, now over here it should print out an 8, over here it should print out 5.224 blah blah blah, and over here it should print out Y. So we run the program again, and that's exactly what we specified, so that means the program is working perfectly fine. So that's just a basic tutorial on variable types and how you can print them out on the screen. I hope it helped. If you have any other questions, you can write them down in the comment below. I'll do the next video for scanf and that's going to be on how to get the variable types from the user, and how to get a value from the user and store it in the variable type, and so on. So I hope you learned something from it. Take care. Bye bye.